Hello, welcome back to the Mobile Motorbike Mechanic channel. I'm Steve. Today we're heading off to a little village just outside Warwick to carry out a full service on an SV650. So we'll see you when we get there. Right folks, here we are back with this SV650. Previous video, link in the description for chain and sprockets on this one. So today what we're going to be doing is oil and filter, air filter and plugs, and then just giving it a general once over. Oh, we've also got to do the brakes on this one as well. So we'll get into it. Right, first things first, just going to start the bike up, get it nice and warm. Right, so we've had the engine running for a little while, got a bit of heat into the motor, so now we can drain the oil. So, sump plug is just here. Boom, boom, boom. Come on, long sump plug. That's the oil draining. There is another plug underneath the motor next to the exhaust on the other side. Don't know if you can see it, it's just up here, just there where my finger is. That's not the sump plug, this is the sump plug. So just be sure you're taking the one out on the left, not the one out on the right. Oil filter next, which is situated here at the front of the motor. Let's see how tight it is. Notice, actually we don't even need the oil filter wrench, which is good. That's starting to come off. Now I'm even using my left hand. Whoa. There we go. So, just spin him off and drain him out. Whilst the bike's draining down of oil, got the sump plug, as you can see there, that is your sump plug washer just there. So we'll spin him off and get him replaced. So on these bolts it's quite difficult sometimes to see that there's a sump plug washer on them because they're a shoulder bolt, but yeah, there should be a washer on there, so we'll throw that one away, get our selection of washers out and see what we've got to replace it with. Come on you bugger. Pretty cold this morning, I've got cold hands. That'll do. Nice shiny new washer on there. Right, so that's ready to go back in when the bike's drained down. Whilst we're waiting for the bike to drain down, we can crack on and get the plugs done and get the air filter done. Right, so seat off, tank up, and that will get us access to the airbox and it will get us access to this rear cylinder. So first things first, we need to pop these side covers off, which are pretty simple, pretty straightforward, just the one bolt. And just like that, it's just the two little tangs that go into the rubbers. Same again on this side, just the one bolt. And the two tangs, there we go. And then we need to swap to a bigger Allen key, and in there, just there, oh, next one up again, this is your seat mount bolt just there. So get that one undone. Come on. Let's pop. There we go. Same again on the other side. I dropped it. There we are. And then the seat lifts up and out. Simple as that. With the seat gone, we need to move to the front of the tank. And you've got these two bolts here. So you just undo those two. And quickly whip them out. And the washer. Now, when you stand the tank up, just be a bit careful, because I'll show you why. Just get this bolt out of here. There we go. Right. So when we go to stand the tank up, you should have Mr. Suzuki bit of bent whatever. Normally these are underneath the seat. In fact, if you have a look there on this one, it's just there in the back of the bike, but underneath the seat. This is our one. Now what you do is you stand the tank up, pop it in place, and then and it acts as a little prop. Now be careful of these inserts, because these inserts can fall out, and if you're not careful and you've got the airbox open, they can fall straight into the engine. So be very careful of those little top hats. On earlier models they weren't even top hats, they were just little metal sleeves. They didn't even have this piece on them, so they just fall out all the time. So yeah, just be aware of that. Right, with the tank propped up, that gives us access in here to the airbox, and it gives us access to the rear cylinder, to the spark plug, which is just there underneath that HT lead. So we can get that spark plug replaced, and we can get the airbox undone, get the air filter changed out. That should do it. And then handy dandy little, there we go, beautiful. And as you can see, that plug is looking a little bit second hand, but there we go. Right, let's get a brand new plug in. Brand new plug, we'll get it fitted. Why has that suddenly gone loose? There we go. Right, where's my HT lead gone? I can't see it. And whenever you fit a HT lead, make sure you get a nice positive click on it. Right, that's the back plug done. Air filter next. So pretty straightforward. Just need to undo all of the screws that are around the outside. And come around that side and do the others. Like I say, this is all doable with the tank still fitted. So it's pretty straightforward. And then last one. It's just a question of popping the lid off. And ooh, look at the state of that. Right, high flow filtro but I don't think that's been changed in a very long time. Right, so high flow filter, we do like high flows, brand new, and just a little bit of difference, eh? Right, let's get that one fitted in. Nice and simple and straightforward. Up is up, and it'll only fit in one way around. Done. Refit the lid, nice and straightforward. Jobbed. Do the screws back up. All too easy. If this was really dusty, it's a little bit dusty, but if it was really dusty, I'd give that a wipe off before I opened it up, just to make sure that none of this crud fell inside the airbox. These screws are quite a coarse thread into plastic, so don't go mad tightening them up or else you'll strip them out. That is rear cylinder airbox done, so we're now finished underneath the tank. So now we can pop the bolts back in again, put the seat back on, and we've just got the front cylinder to do, which is a bit of a bugger. Okay, refitting the seat. Got these two forks, and they just need to go underneath these two steel bits on the frame. So, in it goes, down it goes. Just pick it up, make sure it doesn't pick up at the back, and then it's just a question then of finding the hole and sticking the bolt in. That's one. That's two. And then quick nip off to make sure it ain't going to come undone. There we are. Lovely. Right. So now it's just the two little side panels. Line it up, pop it in, and do the screw up. Same again. Now we need to do the front cylinder spark plug. Fun times. Okay, so we finished up top, done the back cylinder, now we need to get onto the front cylinder. And as you might have noticed on the front cylinder, getting in there between the radiator and the front cylinder to get the front plug out, yeah. So what we've got to do is we've got to drop the front radiator. Now we're not going to take the front radiator off, so we're not going to split the cooling system, but what we need to do is drop it off the bike and just move it forward a little bit so we can get to that front cylinder. So as you will notice, on this side of the radiator there is a knobble. And on the other side of the frame there is a bolt, so we'll go around the other side, we'll undo the bolt. That will allow the whole radiator to drop down to one side, push off and then drop forward, and we can get to this front spark plug. On the right hand side of the bike we can see this is one mounting bolt for the radiator, so we'll just quickly nip him off. Nice and easy, nice and straightforward. Whoop, there we go, gone. And then there's a second mounting bolt here on the cylinder head itself, or on the valve cover. So we'll just nip him off as well. Like I say there. Nice and easily accessible. If you've got the fairing version of this bike, you might struggle to get this top one. You should still be able to get this bottom one. Anyway, with those two undone, as you can see, the whole radiator now wibbles around. So what we need to do is we need to push it forward like so, and then nip round the other side again. Right, with the radiator pulled all the way forward, we can now very, very easily just reach in and pop that front HT lead off, and we've got access straight into the spark plug. Hold it there. long extensions are your friend on this one, because you can just straight in and pull that spark plug straight out. So old plug coming out, new plug going in. Like I say, it's handy having long extensions. You don't need long extensions, it's just easier for showing you guys on camera, because then I'm not getting in the way of what we're doing. But you can easily get your hand in here and do stuff. But anyway, that's your front plug in, HT lead back on, wait for the click. There we are, nice and positive. And now we can lift this radiator assembly back up, pop it on the peg, like so, and then bring it back up into position here, and get the bolt started off on the top one. And then pull it into place and get it done on there, on that valve cover. Get those two nipped off, like so, like so. That's the radiator all secure, and front spark plug changed. Right, so with everything else done, we can come back to the oil. We'll just refit that sump plug, and you can see we've got our new washer on there, so it's just a question of zipping that up, and 21 Newton meters should be torque spec on the sump bolt, but yeah, as we know, we don't do torques, we just do it by feel. There we go. Beautiful. Right, so brand new HF 138 oil filter. Standard Suzuki oil filter is the 138. Get that off. Just check to make sure these should come pre-lubricated, the rubber seal. And then what we want to do is we want to just make sure that the old seal is off the mounting surface, and spin the filter on. So spin it on until it just touches about there. 5 and 6 we can see, numbers 5 and 6. So we'll do a full rotation back to there. Just do it up hand tight, that's all you need. There we go, hand tight, beautiful. Can't go any further than that. I did actually go on about 3 turns more, but but as long as it's tight and it's not coming off. There we go. Don't be tempted to use a wrench or anything on it. And if you thought you saw a crack on the engine case here, it wasn't. It was just some, I don't know what. It was just a mark. So yeah, that case is all good. Okay, oil filling time. Nice new can of Motor 1040. It's just, oh, you bugger. Open that up, and then we can open up the fill point. Ta-da. And we'll get our funnel in place, just like so. Right, nice handy dandy sight glass on these bikes, so obviously up to the full mark, and then we'll run the bike and see where we end up. That'll do. As we can see now, we're on the full mark on the sight glass, up to the full. So what we need to do now is just start the bike up, run it for a few seconds, make sure the oil pressure light goes out, then let it settle and come back and check the level, because once we've filled up the oil filter and everything else, that will be back down, probably back down to the L lower point. Right, so switch the bike on, clutch in on these ones, you always got to pull the clutch in, and then fire it up and see if the oil pressure light goes out. Yep, oil pressure light's gone out. So just wait a second or two. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And if you come back and have a look at the sight glass, it's completely empty. But that's standard, that's normal. So we'll give it 5 minutes, let all the oil drain back down into the sump, and we'll see where we're at. Cool. Okay, been a couple of minutes. Just whilst I was getting the brake sucky doodad thing out, and we'll deal with that in a second. So as you can see, we are completely empty in the sight glass, which is to be expected. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to top back up on the oil. Now, being a pretty cold day, this oil's taking a while to come out, but okay, and we're on the full mark there, so we're happy with that. So that's the oil done, and the oil filter. So last thing we've got to do on this one are the brakes, and I've got to take that panel back off again to get to that. Right, rear brakes. So just pop this panel back off again, and what we need to do is undo the rear brake reservoir. Just take that bolt out, and then that will allow the reservoir to be free, and you can get onto the screws then, because this bit of bodywork's in the way. So these screws are normally, oh, that one's all right. Oh, they actually both came undone very easily, which is good. Now, obviously, when you, I shouldn't say obviously, it might not be obvious to everybody, but when you undo these screws, you're opening up this reservoir, and that reservoir has got brake fluid in it, so you got to be a bit careful and make sure you don't get any spillages. If you do spill brake fluid, you need to quickly mop it up and ideally wash it off paintwork and stuff, because it will knacker paintwork. Right, let's have a look, see what's going on under it. Ooh, we've got something going on under there. Right, that's the lid off, and as you can see, the diaphragm inside's all, well, it shouldn't look like that, it should be all nice and flat. So we'll slowly peel that off. Come on. Like I say, this is where it will suddenly go and you'll slip and create yourself problems. So you've got a cloth here ready to catch any fluid. Right, so as you can see, that diaphragm's all out of shape. Not a problem, we can reuse the diaphragm, but it shouldn't be all out of shape like that. It should be nice and flat. So we'll come back to that in a minute. So let's have a look and see what we've got in here. Yeah, dirty old brake fluid. So before we start messing around with that, I'm just going to pop the bolt back in again, and then that will hold it nice and secure whilst we're buggering about with it. So rear brake, nice and simple, one line down to the master cylinder, from the master cylinder one line to the rear caliper, and that is your bleed nipple there. So we'll just pop the cover off it. So yeah, that's your bleed nipple, 8mm spanner, and what I do is I just give them a nip up tight to break the seal, and then you can undo them. Okay, so brand new brake fluid, .4. We'll get our speed bleeder, And what we can do, oh, there we are. And what we can do with the speed bleeder is suck out all the old brake fluid. Simple as that. So now we can attach the speed bleeder onto the bleed nipple, like so. And now all we need to do is open the brake nipple, but first things first, refill with new fluid. And as soon as we open this up, you should see old fluid coming out. Should see old fluid coming out. There it comes. It's coming. You can see it whipping through the hose. And you'll notice in the reservoir the level's gone down. Pull that back up again. Not to be good. Yeah, good. So as we get down to the lower level, I'm going to shut this bleed nipple off. Go. Turn him off because he's noisy. Refill to the upper level. There he is. Of course, don't fill it over full. These are pretty brand new brake pads in here, so that's not going to be an issue, because obviously if your brake pads are very low and you fill that right up, when you push your brake pads back, that will overflow. So that's good, they're good. Right, we can get the lid back on that now. Reattaching all this lot, I'll pop the bolt out. Now the diaphragm, it's not in the best of shape, but it is at least back to almost flat, so that's perfectly usable. So what we're going to do is we're going to just, oh, don't drop and spill anything. Just going to pop him back in the top of the reservoir there. There you go. That'll do. Yep, he's in. And then refit the lid. There goes the lid. And pop the screws back in again. All pretty much straightforward stuff. Oops. Right, and then with a cloth, just give it a clean around the edge, just in case anything's spilt out. It doesn't look like anything's spilt out, but even so, we'll just give it a clean just to make certain. And then line him up with the hole, pop him back in. And then again, nip him off. Right. Dust cover back on the nipple, and then we need the panel back on. Right, that's the back brakes finished, so now to the front ones. Okay, so front brakes, master cylinder. Now, as you might have noticed, this master cylinder is on a bit of a wonk, so sometimes you can turn the bars and get it flat, but on this one it's not really making any difference. So what we're going to do is we're going to just slacken off the pinch bolts and turn the master cylinder so it's nice and flat. So what we're going to do before we do that is we're just going to mark on the handlebars where the join is between the perch and the clamp. So I'm just going to pop a little dot there so we know where to come back to, and all I need to do is slacken those two off, and then I can rotate the master cylinder and get it nice and flat. That just ensures that we don't spill any brake fluid when we're messing about doing the brakes. Right, so with that nice and flat now, we can get the lid off. Oh, you do need a decent fitting screwdriver. And there we go. So front master cylinder is slightly different. We've got a cap, we've then got this plastic insert, and then we've got the diaphragm. But same amount of caution needs to be aired, and as you can see from the state of that brake fluid, that's pretty manky. So let's get it sucked out and get the new stuff in. Standard twin caliper setup on the front of this bike. So what we need to do is we need to follow the brake line from the master cylinder down the bike, and you see it comes to a junction here, carries on down to this caliper, but this one goes across and goes to the caliper on the other side. So you're always going to do the caliper furthest from the master cylinder first. So in this particular instance, it's not this side, it's the other side. So what we'll do is we'll suck out all the fluid out of here, get rid of all that, and then we'll open the nipple, bleed nipple on the other caliper and bleed that one first, and then come back to this one. On some bikes you'll have a bleed nipple on the master cylinder as well. So if you did have on this one, but we don't, but if you did, you'd do that one last. So you do furthest, then last, next one, then all the way back to the top. Anyway, enough waffling, let's crack on with it. Let's see what the deposits look like in the bottom of this when we clean it out. Yeah, it's really manky. You can see in the bottom there's all horrible schmoo. Giving a good hoover out. I'm sure the camera lady will verify this is the only time I do hoover. Anyway, right, that's that done. What we'll do, we'll get the edge of a cloth and a screwdriver. We'll carefully just wrap a cloth in there and just clean out the last of the gunk in the bottom of that master cylinder. There's quite a lot in there actually, surprising. So, there we go. Right, there we are, he's nice and clean. So now we can fill that up with fresh fluid and start bleeding the brakes through. Nice and clean. Ooh, he's tight. There we go. Right. Pop our speed bleeder in place. As you can see, fluid's coming out. Right. So I always do one full reservoir per leg, or per caliper, per line. It's just the way I do it. So we'll let that bleed through, and yeah, that's all you can do now. Wait. Right, so now we've got nice fresh fluid coming through. So we just nip that one off. He's done. So yeah, nice fresh fluid coming through there, all good. So that's that one done. So now we just got to go back and do the other side. First things first, top up the master cylinder. And now we can bleed basically this section of the line, because we know we've gone all the way down here and around, so it's just bleeding this little last bit. Yep, that's going to come undone. Lovely. There we go, there's the old fluid coming out. So, we've got a decent break there. Beautiful. So now the only thing left to do is put that master cylinder back where we found it. Just there. It wasn't there. It was there. Good. Now, because we've been messing with the brakes, we're just going to check the brake light. Make sure the brake light comes on. And we'll just check the rear brake as well. Make sure the brake light comes on, and it does. Next thing we're going to do is adjust the chain and just check the brake tyre pressures. That's 12 psi. It should be 36 to 42 on the rear, so need to put a bit of wind in that one. Let's go and have a look at the front. And the front one, let's have a look again. 30 psi, 28. That's not too bad, but it's still not correct. Right, I got it wrong. 33 on the front, 36 on the rear. So we're just letting this one down a little bit. 36, bob on. But it's a hell of a lot better than 12. Okay, so tyres are all done. So the last thing we need to do is just do a bit of a tighten up on this chain. As you can see in the other video, link in the description, we replaced these, was it 2 weeks ago? Something like that. So the guy's been riding around on it, and obviously it's stretched a little bit, so just need to adjust that. Probably just going to be a quarter of a turn on each. Right, as you can see, we've got the tension correct back on that one. Yeah, much better. Okay, might just pop a little bit of lube on that one, and then we'll call this one done. Right, so we were just going around doing our final checks, and we noticed this clutch lever's pretty slack and it's all loose. So what we're going to do is we'll take out the majority of that down here by adjusting this tension adjust here. So we just need to loosen off the pinch bolt, wind this one out, nip the pinch bolt back up again, and then check it again at the handlebars. Right. Yeah. So you can see now that we've taken out all that slack out the cable. So we've just got a little bit of slack there now. Much better. Yeah, see, much better. Right, folks, that's this one all completely serviced. Like I say, all the service parts have been done. Given it a check over for the customer. Adjusted the clutch, adjusted the chain, adjusted the tyre pressures. Yeah, so remember to like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you again on the next video.